This is a story of power, greed, and karma, all centered in Lagos. Lagos was a city of two extremes. On one side, it was the land of dreams, where wealth was measured in private jets, luxury yachts, and billionaire mansions. On the other hand, it was a graveyard of broken souls, where poverty crushed ambition before it even had a chance to grow. Aisha Kalu was born into the wrong side of Lagos. Her family lived in a slum where the air was thick with the scent of stale sweat, street food, and unfulfilled promises. Her father, Alhaji Kalu, had once been a proud mechanic, but when the economy crumbled, so did his spirit. He drowned himself in cheap gin, leaving his wife to shoulder the burden of survival. Mama Aisha was a woman of silent suffering, selling peppers and tomatoes in the market, barely making enough to keep food on the table. But even that was never enough. Hunger was Aisha's first teacher. She learnt that poverty stripped away dignity, that without money you were invisible. And she vowed, at just 12 years old, that she would never live like this forever. By the time Aisha was 15, she knew that beauty was a currency. She had smooth caramel skin, sharp cheekbones, and a body that drew attention wherever she went. The first man to make an offer was Mr. O, the landlord of their one-room apartment. One evening, as she sat outside, he walked up to her, his eyes lingering where they shouldn't. "You're a fine girl, Aisha," he murmured, slipping a thick envelope into her hands. "You shouldn't suffer like this." She knew what it meant. She could have screamed, thrown the money back at him, but she thought of her mother's tired eyes, her younger siblings' empty stomachs, the eviction notice nailed to their door, and she made a choice. The first time was unpleasant, a violation of her soul. But when she opened the envelope and saw the crisp Naira notes, something inside her shifted. For the first time, she felt powerful. Aisha vowed to never be powerless again. At 18, she left home. She moved to living with a friend who introduced her to higher-paying clients. She reinvented herself. She learned to speak with confidence, walk with grace, and study men like prey. By 19, she stopped dealing with broke men. She chased power. She stopped dealing with small men like Mr. O. She studied wealthy women, observing how they moved, spoke, and commanded respect. She reinvented herself. She stopped using cheap perfume and learned how to walk in high heels, like she was born in them. Then, one fateful night at Echo Lounge, she met Chief O, a real estate tycoon who could buy half of Lagos without blinking. He was rich, powerful, and bored, and Aisha was exactly what he needed. She played her role perfectly. The mysterious, seductive, ambitious young woman who made him feel alive again. Within weeks, she was no longer in a jail. Chief Olu set her up in a luxury Ikoyi penthouse, away from the slums that once trapped her. But Aisha wasn't just a kept woman. She was watching, learning, planning. She wanted more. She knew exactly what he wanted, and she gave it to him. Soon, he was obsessed. But Aisha was never satisfied with just being a mistress. She wanted to be the one pulling the strings, and that was how the Black Rose Society was born. At 23, Aisha controlled Lagos nightlife and founded the Black Rose Society, not just another escort service, but an exclusive elite ring that catered to the country's richest and most powerful men. Her girls were trained to be more than just beautiful. They were polished, educated, and deadly in the art of seduction. Her girls weren't cheap prostitutes. They were trophies for the rich, politicians, CEOs, foreign investors, and even royalty all came to the Black Rose for pleasure. But power comes with enemies and a darker side. Some of these girls were sent abroad, promised Ed wealth and a glamorous lifestyle. But many were sold into trafficking rings in Dubai, Italy, and France. Some never returned, Aisha knew. But to her, it was just business, and business was booming. Other madams in Lagos saw her as a threat. One in particular, Madam J, had been ruling the underground sex industry for decades. She didn't like that a young upstart like Aisha was stealing her clients. "You think you're untouchable, little girl?" Madam J had once sneered. "You have no idea what you've started." Aisha laughed her off. She thought she was invincible. 3 months later, Aisha's driver was found dead, shot execution style in Lekki. No robbery. No explanation. Just a warning. Aisha knew who sent the message. Madam J. She had 2 options: back down and disappear, or fight back. She chose war and fought back. Aisha struck. She bribed a government official to shut down one of Madam J's clubs for illegal operations. Madam J retaliated worse by setting one of Aisha's high-end brothels on fire, and the war continued. Aisha's power grew. Her wealth was immeasurable. Bentleys, designer bags, diamond watches, and private jets. But power always comes at a price. Someone was coming for her. Aisha made a mistake, and then the real danger came when one of her top girls, escaped from an elite sex ring in Dubai, had always been one of Aisha's best girls. But when she was sent to Dubai, she was sold to a powerful Arab businessman and locked away like a prisoner. She barely escaped with her life. When she returned to Nigeria, she didn't just want revenge. She wanted justice. She exposed everything. And the moment Aisha heard the news, she knew her time was up. She underestimated Zainab, who had been watching everything, and she was about to betray her in the worst way possible. Instead of staying silent, Zainab went to Interpol. Names, locations, bank accounts, everything. Interpol launched a full-scale investigation into human trafficking. One by one, Aisha's powerful allies abandoned her. Even Chief Olamide, the man who once worshipped her, refused to take her calls. She wasn't a queen anymore. She was a liability. The last person she trusted was Monica, her best friend and right-hand woman. Aisha called her, desperate, asking for a way out. Monica agreed to meet her. But when Aisha arrived at the secret location, Interpol was waiting. Monica had been working with them for months. "I'm sorry, Aisha," Monica whispered. "You knew this day would come." Aisha screamed, fought, cursed, but it was over. The trial was a spectacle. The media called her the Black Widow of Lagos. Her victims testified against her. Her secrets were exposed. And the judge didn't hesitate. 30 years in prison. No parole, no mercy. The once feared queen of Lagos nightlife was now just another inmate. Years passed. Aisha became a forgotten name. Her money was gone. Her power was gone. And nobody cared. Back in Ajegunle, young girls still dreamed of escaping poverty. Some still whispered her name in admiration, not realizing that she was a prisoner of her own choices. Moral lesson: not all shortcuts lead to paradise. Some lead straight to hell.